Nathan Cross stood in his bedroom at 2 in the morning, staring at a single diamond earring in his palm. The party downstairs was still going strong. He could hear voices and laughter coming up through the floor, celebrating his new life, his new success, his new girlfriend. But he couldn't stop looking at this earring. The only thing Sophia had left behind when she walked out 6 months ago. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him check. The message had no words. Just a photo. Sophia. In a black evening gown that probably cost more than his car. Diamond's necklace she wore that made the earring in his hand look like a toy. Standing beside a man Nathan recognized immediately from the news. Vincent Romano. The most powerful, most feared businessman in Chicago. They were at some charity gala, looking like they owned the city. Nathan's chest tightened. Below the photo, 4 words appeared, "Know who you lost." His hands started shaking. He zoomed in on the image, searching for some explanation. Sophia looked different. Not broken. Not struggling. Not working 3 jobs to make rent like he'd assumed she'd be doing. She looked like she belonged in that world. Like she'd always belonged there. Another text came through, "Her brother doesn't forget. And he doesn't forgive." Nathan dropped the phone. Brother. Vincent Romano was her brother. The room spun around him in 360 degrees. That quiet art teacher he'd married. The woman who'd served him breakfast every morning and asked about his day. The woman who'd signed the divorce papers without a lawyer, without asking for a single dollar. That woman was Vincent Romano's sister. Downstairs, his girlfriend Ashley was probably looking for him. His business partners were probably making toasts. His new life was waiting. But all Nathan could think about was Sophia's face the day she'd left. So calm. So still. Like she'd already said goodbye to him long before he'd handed her those papers. "You'll understand one day, Nathan," she'd said. Those were her last words to him. Goodbye. He hadn't understood. He'd thought she was just being dramatic. Thought she'd come crawling back when reality hit. When she realized how hard life was without him. But she hadn't come back. And now he knew why. Before we go any further, I need you to do something. Drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from. Because what's about to happen to Nathan is going to make you believe in karma again. And if you're the type of person who thinks people like Nathan should face consequences for their actions, if you believe in justice for people like Sophia, then you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me when I say you don't want to miss how this unfolds. Now let's get back to the story. Nathan barely slept that night. When morning came, he was already at his laptop, typing Vincent Romano into every search engine he could find. The results were overwhelming. Real estate empire. Political connections. Charitable foundations. A man whose name made people nervous. A man whose business dealings were always legal, but whose reputation suggested layers Nathan couldn't see. And buried in a society page from 7 months ago, Nathan found it. One line in an article about Romano family philanthropy, Vincent Romano welcomes his younger half-sister home to Chicago after years in Europe. No name. No photo. But the timeline matched perfectly. Sophia had filed for divorce 7 months ago. She'd left without explanation. Without anger. Just signed and walked away. Ashley appeared in the doorway wearing one of his shirts, holding 2 coffee cups. "You've been up all night." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're obsessing over your ex again." She set the coffee down harder than necessary. "When are you going to let that go?" "Did you know her family?" "What?" "Sophia. Did you know anything about her family?" Ashley shrugged. "She didn't have family. That's what you told me. Said she was alone in the world. That's why she clung to you so hard." Nathan had said that. He'd believed it too. Sophia never talked about her past. Never mentioned parents or siblings. He'd assumed she had nothing. No one. That she'd been lucky he'd noticed her at that gallery opening 5 years ago. "I need to get to the office," he said, standing abruptly. "Nathan, the investor meeting is at 10. The one with Patterson Industries. $5 million. Don't be late." "I won't." But he was barely listening. His mind was spinning through every conversation he'd ever had with Sophia, searching for clues he'd missed. Signs that she was more than what she'd appeared to be. He found nothing. She'd been exactly who she'd seemed. Quiet. Kind. Content with small things. She'd worked part-time at a children's art center, teaching kids to paint. She'd made dinner every night. She'd laughed at his jokes and supported his dreams and never once mentioned that she came from money. Never once mentioned that her half-brother could buy and sell Nathan's entire company without blinking. His phone rang. Office number. Nathan, we have a problem. It was Derek, his business partner. His voice was tight. Patterson just cancelled. No explanation. His assistant just said they're no longer interested in working with us. What? That meeting's in 2 hours. Was in 2 hours. It's done. They're out. Did they say why? No. And Nathan, there's more. The Lincoln Tower project. The investors are pulling out. All of them. Simultaneously. Nathan's stomach dropped. That's not possible. It's happening. I'm getting calls. Everyone's backing away. Nobody's giving me a reason. They just keep saying they've reconsidered their position. I'm coming in. He hung up and stood there, the phone hot in his hand. This couldn't be coincidence. Not the day after that photo. Not the day after learning who Sophia really was. Ashley was watching him from the bed. What's wrong? Nothing. Business issue. You're lying. He looked at her. Really looked at her. They'd been together 8 months. He'd left Sophia for her. Ashley was everything he'd thought he wanted. Ambitious. Connected. Beautiful. She pushed him to be better, make more money, reach higher. But she didn't know him. Not really. And he was starting to realize he didn't know her either. I'll call you later, he said, grabbing his jacket. Nathan. He paused at the door. Whatever you're about to do, don't. I can see it in your face. You're thinking about her. About Sophia. Let it go. She's gone. You have me now. You have everything you wanted. Yeah, he said quietly. Everything I wanted. By the time Nathan reached his office in the Loop, 3 more deals had collapsed. Projects he'd spent months building. Relationships he'd cultivated carefully. All of it disintegrating like smoke. Derek met him in the hallway, face pale. What did you do? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. We've been partners for 6 years. Something happened. These deals don't just fall apart. Not like this. Not all at once. Nathan's office felt smaller than usual. He closed the door and told Derek everything. The photo. Vincent Romano. Sophia's real identity. Derek sat down heavily. You married Vincent Romano's sister and didn't know it. She never told me. And now? Now I think he's destroying my business. You think? Derek laughed, but there was no humor in it. Nathan, the Romano name carries weight in this city. If Vincent even suggests people shouldn't work with someone, they don't. It's not a threat. It's just understood. This is illegal. Is it? He's not threatening anyone. He's not making demands. He's just existing. And people are choosing to protect themselves by staying away from you. Nathan's phone buzzed. Another message from the unknown number. Just the beginning. You hurt something precious. Now you learn what that costs. He showed Derek the message. His partner stood up, face grim. I have a family, Nathan. I can't go down with you on this. Derek. I'm sorry. But I need to protect myself. I'll buy out your shares. Fair market value. You're abandoning me? I'm surviving. There's a difference. Derek moved toward the door. For what it's worth, what did you do to her? To make her brother come after you like this? Nathan thought about it. Really thought about it. He'd cheated on Sophia for 6 months with Ashley. He hadn't been subtle about it. He'd stayed out late. Come home smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. He'd let his friends make jokes about trading up. He'd filed for divorce and tried to make it seem like Sophia was unstable. Dependent. Unable to function without him. He'd taken her kindness for weakness. Her quiet nature for stupidity. I don't know, he lied. Derek left without another word. Nathan sat alone in his office and felt his perfect life beginning to crack. That evening, he did something desperate. He went to Vincent Romano's office building in the Gold Coast. A gleaming tower that made his own building look small. Security stopped him at the desk. I need to see Vincent Romano. The guard barely looked up. Do you have an appointment? No, but. Then you don't see Mr. Romano. Tell him Nathan Cross is here. Tell him it's about his sister. The guard's expression changed. Just slightly. He picked up a phone, spoke quietly, then hung up. Mr. Romano is unavailable. I'll wait. You'll leave. Now. Nathan was about to argue when the elevator doors opened. A black town car was already pulling up outside. And there she was. Sophia. Stepping out of the building like she owned it. She wore a cream suit that probably cost more than his monthly mortgage. Her hair was different. Longer. Styled. She looked polished. Confident. Nothing like the woman who used to wear paint-stained jeans and teach children how to mix colors. She saw him. Their eyes met through the glass. Nathan pushed past the guard and burst outside. Sophia. She stopped. Turned slowly. Her face was calm. Unreadable. Nathan. What are you doing here? What am I doing? What are you doing? Who are you? She glanced at her watch. I have a dinner appointment. We need to talk. No, we don't. Your brother is destroying my business. Is he? She tilted her head slightly. Or are people just making their own choices about who they want to work with? Sophia, please. I didn't know. I didn't know who you were. And that's the problem, isn't it? Her voice was soft, but there was steel underneath. You never asked. In 3 years of marriage, you never once asked about my family. My past. Where I came from. You just assumed I was nobody because I didn't brag about it. That's not fair. Fair. Something flickered in her eyes. You want to talk about fair? You cheated on me for 6 months. You paraded Ashley around like a prize while I was still your wife. You filed for divorce and tried to make me look pathetic. You told people I couldn't function without you. I was wrong. I know that now. You're not sorry for what you did, Nathan. You're scared because you finally see there are consequences. She stepped closer. You thought I was weak because I was kind. You thought I was stupid because I didn't fight you. You were wrong about all of it. I loved you. No. You loved feeling superior to me. There's a difference. She turned toward the car. Sophia, wait. Please. Call off your brother. I'll apologize. Publicly. Whatever you want. She paused with her hand on the car door. I'm not doing this to you. Vincent is. And not because I asked him to. Because he's my brother and he doesn't like when people hurt his family. She looked back at him. I told him to let it go. That you weren't worth the energy. But Vincent doesn't listen to me about things like this. Then make him stop. Why would I do that? Because I'm begging you. You never begged when it mattered. When I was falling apart in our marriage. When I was crying myself to sleep wondering what I'd done wrong. When I was trying so hard to be enough for you. Her voice cracked just slightly. Now you're begging because you're losing money. Not because you hurt me. Because your business is failing. She got in the car. The door closed. Through the tinted window, Nathan could see her profile. Still calm. Still controlled. The car pulled away. Nathan stood on the sidewalk and felt something inside him break. A week later, everything was falling apart faster. Ashley left him. She didn't even pretend to be sorry about it. I was with you because you were successful, she said, packing her designer clothes into expensive luggage. You're not successful anymore. My father's firm is cutting all ties with yours. I can't be associated with failure. I'm not failing. Really? She gestured around the penthouse. You can't afford this place anymore. Your business partner bought you out at a fraction of what your shares were worth. Your investors won't return your calls. You're toxic, Nathan. And I don't do toxic. She left for New York that afternoon. Didn't even say goodbye. Nathan sat in the empty penthouse and laughed. The same woman he'd left Sophia for had just left him the exact same way. The irony was crushing. His phone rang. A number he recognized. Marcus Webb. The private investigator he'd hired 3 days ago. I have your report. Tell me. Sophia Romano. Born Sofia Castellano in Florence, Italy. Her mother was Vincent Romano's father's second wife. Vincent's about 15 years older. Different mothers, same father. He brought her to Chicago 7 months ago after her mother died. Set her up with a position in his charitable foundation. She's been working with domestic violence shelters and women's recovery programs. What about money? She has a trust fund. About $50 million. Untouched. She's never used it. Lived on her teacher's salary her whole adult life. Nathan's head was spinning. She was rich the entire time. Very. She just didn't tell you. Why not? According to everyone I talked to, she wanted a normal life. Wanted to be loved for who she was, not what she had. Vincent honored that. Kept her identity quiet. Protected her from the business side of the family. Until I hurt her. Yeah. Until that. Marcus paused. Mr. Cross, my advice? Leave Chicago. Start over somewhere else. Vincent Romano isn't going to stop. He doesn't need to threaten you directly. His name does the work. I can't just run. You can. Or you can stay and watch everything you built disappear. Your choice. Nathan hung up and sat in the dark. 2 weeks later, he was living in his office. The penthouse was gone. The car was gone. Most of his savings were gone, eaten up by lawyers and debts and desperate attempts to save deals that were already dead. Derek had bought him out for pennies on the dollar. Nathan had signed because he had no other choice. He needed cash. Needed to survive. His phone buzzed constantly with bills he couldn't pay. Credit cards maxing out. Creditors calling. Then the final blow came. A meeting. Vincent Romano's office. This time, they let him in. The executive floor was all glass and steel and money. Vincent's assistant led Nathan to a conference room where Vincent sat at the head of a long table. Impeccable suit. Calm eyes. The kind of power that didn't need to be loud. Mr. Cross. Sit. Nathan sat. His hands were shaking. You wanted to see me. Here I am. Please. Make this stop. Make what stop? You know what. My business. My reputation. Everything's gone. Vincent leaned back in his chair. I haven't done anything to you. You told people not to work with me. Did I? Interesting. I don't recall making any threats. He smiled slightly. I may have mentioned at a dinner party that family is important to me. That someone had hurt my sister. I didn't name you. But word spreads in certain circles. This is destroying me. Good. The simple honesty of it was stunning. You want to know why? Vincent continued. Because you treated my sister like she was disposable. You cheated on her. Humiliated her. Made her feel worthless. And when she finally left, you didn't even notice she was in pain. You just moved on. I made mistakes. You made choices. There's a difference. Vincent stood and walked to the window. Sophia begged me not to do this. She said you weren't worth the energy. That revenge was beneath us. But I don't care. You hurt her. That has consequences. What do you want from me? Vincent turned. I want you to understand what it feels like to lose everything. To feel powerless. Small. Worthless. Everything you made her feel. I'm sorry. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. Sorry there are consequences. He moved back to the table. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to liquidate whatever assets you have left. You're going to donate every penny to Sophia's foundation. Then you're going to leave Chicago. I have nothing left. Then you'll have less. My accountant says you have about 200,000 in various accounts. Business assets you haven't sold yet. Some investments. Liquidate it. All of it. That's everything I have. Yes. That's the point. Vincent slid a document across the table. My lawyers have also found some interesting inconsistencies in your tax filings from 2019 through 2022. Nothing major. Just enough to make the IRS very curious. Unless, of course, you cooperate. Nathan's vision blurred. You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you a choice. Leave Chicago with nothing but a clean record. Or stay and face an audit that will destroy what's left of your name. Vincent's voice was ice. Choose. Nathan looked at the document. His entire life reduced to numbers on a page. I'll do it. Smart. Vincent pressed a button on his phone. His assistant entered with a folder. One-way ticket to Denver. $5,000. My gift. Because unlike you, I'm not completely heartless. Nathan took the ticket. The money. The folder with liquidation instructions. Can I see her? To apologize. She doesn't want to see you. Please. Vincent studied him for a long moment. I'll ask. But if she says no, you respect that. Understood. Nathan nodded. 3 days later, Nathan was packing the last of his belongings from the office he'd been sleeping in when there was a knock. Sophia stood in the doorway. She looked the same as she had outside Vincent's building. Polished. Confident. But there was something softer in her eyes now. Something that reminded him of the woman he'd married. Vincent said you wanted to talk. I did. I do. Nathan set down the box he was holding. I'm sorry, Sophia. For everything. For not seeing you. For taking you for granted. For hurting you. I know. That's it? You know. What do you want me to say, Nathan? That I forgive you? That we can be friends? She shook her head. I came because Vincent asked me to. Not because I need closure. I loved you. Maybe. In your own way. But it wasn't enough. She walked further into the room. You want to know what hurt the most? It wasn't the cheating. It was the way you looked at me. Like I was invisible. Like I didn't matter. You stopped seeing me long before you started seeing Ashley. I was an idiot. You were cruel. There's a difference. She picked up a photo from his desk. Their wedding day. I loved who I thought you were. When you showed me who you really were, I mourned the man I'd imagined. Did you ever think about telling me? About your family? Every day. But I wanted you to love me for me. Not for what I came from. And you couldn't even do that. She set the photo down. I'm not doing this for revenge, Nathan. I left because staying was killing me. What Vincent did. That's just him being protective. But I'm done being angry. Done carrying you around in my head. So what now? Now you go to Denver. You start over. You become someone better. Not for me. For yourself. Will I ever see you again? She smiled sadly. I hope not. She turned to leave. Sophia, wait. One question. She paused. Did you ever love me? Really? She looked back at him. I loved who I hoped you'd become. I cried when I realized that person didn't exist. That's the truest answer I can give you. Then she walked out. Nathan stood alone in the empty office and finally let himself cry. 6 months later, Nathan was living in a studio apartment in Denver, working as a project manager for a small construction firm, making decent money. Nothing like before, but enough. He went to therapy twice a week. Started volunteering at a community center. Made a few friends. Quiet people. Real people. People who didn't care about his past or what he used to have. One afternoon, his therapist asked him what he'd learned. That I built my whole life on the wrong things, Nathan said. Money. Status. How things looked from the outside. I thought that made me successful. But it just made me empty. And now I'm trying to figure out who I am when nobody's watching. It was slow work. Painful work. But it was real. Meanwhile, back in Chicago, Sophia's foundation was thriving. The donation Nathan had made, combined with Vincent's matching funds, had allowed them to open a second shelter. Then a third. Sophia ran art therapy programs. Helped women rebuild their lives after leaving abusive situations. She taught children how to paint again. How to see beauty in broken things. She was dating someone new. A professor of literature. Quiet. Kind. Someone who asked about her past and listened to the answers. Vincent watched her carefully, looking for signs of lingering pain. But Sophia seemed genuinely happy. Lighter than she'd been in years. "You let him off easy," Vincent said one evening over dinner. "I let him go," Sophia corrected. "There's a difference. He destroyed you. He hurt me. But I destroyed myself by staying. By trying to fix something that was already broken." She sipped her wine. Letting go wasn't weakness. It was survival. "Do you think about him?" "Sometimes. The same way you think about a car accident after it's over. Grateful you survived. Sad for what was lost. But not dwelling. That's very evolved of you." She smiled. "I'm working on it." 18 months after the divorce, Nathan received something unexpected. A letter, forwarded from his old Chicago address. The envelope was cream-colored. Expensive paper. Inside was an invitation. "Sophia Romano cordially invites you to the grand opening of the Romano Center for New Beginnings. A shelter and resource center for individuals rebuilding their lives after loss." There was a handwritten note on the back. "Nathan, you don't have to come. But I wanted you to know that your donation made this possible. 47 women and children have safe housing because of what you gave. That matters. I've forgiven you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Take care of yourself. Sophia." Nathan sat with that letter for 3 days. His therapist said he didn't have to go. That he could choose to leave that chapter closed. But Nathan wanted to see it. Wanted to see what good had come from the wreckage of his worst mistakes. So he bought a plane ticket to Chicago. The Romano Center was in a restored building on the south side. Beautiful. Warm. Full of light. When Nathan arrived, the grand opening was already underway. People everywhere. Donors. Community members. Families who would benefit from the services. He stayed in the back. Didn't announce himself. Sophia gave a speech about second chances. About how everyone deserves dignity. How broken doesn't mean worthless. She spoke about art as healing. About creating beauty from pain. Nathan watched her and saw someone he'd never really known. Someone strong. Compassionate. Whole. She saw him near the end. Their eyes met across the crowded room. She didn't smile. Just nodded. A simple acknowledgement. After the speeches, after most of the crowd had left, Nathan found himself in a quiet hallway. Sophia appeared a few minutes later. "You came. I wanted to see what good came from everything. And it's beautiful. What you've built here. Thank you." She looked at him carefully. "You look different. I am different. I think. I hope." They stood in awkward silence. "I meant what I wrote," Sophia said finally. "I forgive you." "Why?" "Because holding on to anger was poisoning me. Because you're not important enough to carry around anymore. Because I deserve to be free of all of it. I don't deserve your forgiveness." Probably not. But that's the thing about forgiveness. It's not about what you deserve. It's about what I need. Vincent appeared at the end of the hallway. Saw Nathan. His expression hardened. "Everything okay here?" "Yes," Sophia said. "Nathan was just leaving." Nathan nodded. "I was. But Sophia, thank you. For this. For giving me the chance to see that something good came from the worst thing I ever did. You did one good thing, Nathan. Remember that when the guilt gets heavy." She started to walk away, then paused. "I hope Denver is good to you. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. I hope you're happy." "I am." And she meant it. Vincent walked Nathan to the door. They stood outside in the cool Chicago evening. She's better off without you, Vincent said quietly. I know. Do you? Really? Yeah. I do now. Nathan looked back at the building. I destroyed the best thing I ever had because I didn't know how to see it. At least you finally learned something. Vincent's voice softened just slightly. That donation you made. It changed lives. Hold on to that when you're beating yourself up. I will. Don't come back here, Nathan. She's moved on. Completely. She has a whole life you're not part of. Respect that. I will. Vincent turned to go back inside, then stopped. For what it's worth, I think you might actually become someone decent. Eventually. Just do it somewhere else. Then he was gone. Nathan walked to his rental car and sat there for a long time. Chicago glittered around him. The city that had been his home. The place where he'd built everything and lost everything. He started the engine and drove toward the airport. 2 years after the divorce, Nathan was still in Denver. Still working. Still volunteering. He'd been promoted twice. Made some real friends. Started dating someone. Nothing serious yet. But real. Honest. He kept Sophia's note in his desk drawer. Read it sometimes when he needed a reminder of who he didn't want to be anymore. Ashley had gotten married. He'd seen it on social media. Some finance executive in Manhattan. They looked happy in the photos. Nathan felt nothing when he saw them. No anger. No jealousy. Just a distant recognition that she'd found what she was looking for. He'd found something too. Not happiness exactly. But something close. Peace, maybe. The quiet satisfaction of living honestly. Of being someone his therapist called present. Meanwhile, Sophia's foundation had expanded to 3 cities. She was teaching art therapy to trauma survivors. Dating that literature professor seriously now. They were talking about moving in together. Vincent had finally backed off the protective brother routine. Mostly. He still vetted anyone Sophia brought home, but he was learning to trust her judgment. One evening, Sophia was at an art gallery opening when she saw a young couple arguing near the entrance. The man was dismissive. The woman kept apologizing for things that weren't her fault. The dynamic was painfully familiar. When the woman excused herself to the restroom, Sophia followed. I'm sorry, Sophia said carefully. This is none of my business. But if you ever need help, there are resources. She handed the woman a card for the Romano Center. The woman looked confused. I don't understand. Maybe you never will. I hope you don't. But if you ever do, we're here. The woman took the card. Sophia left her there and walked back to the gallery. Her boyfriend found her looking at a painting. Abstract. Chaotic. Beautiful. You okay? Yes, Sophia said. Just remembering. Remembering what? That I used to be someone who apologized for existing. And now I'm someone who helps people stop doing that. He smiled and took her hand. That's quite an evolution. It took a while. But I got there. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Sophia found herself thinking about Nathan for the first time in months. Not with anger. Not with pain. Just with a distant curiosity about whether he'd become the person he'd promised he would. She hoped he had. Not for her sake. For his. Then she put the thought away and moved on with her life. Because that's what healing looked like. Not forgetting. Just choosing not to carry it anymore. 3,000 miles away, Nathan was having dinner with his girlfriend when his phone buzzed. An email notification. Someone had tagged him in a post about second chances and personal growth. It was an article about the Romano Center. About Sophia's work. About how one woman had turned her pain into purpose. There was a quote from Sophia near the end. People ask me if I regret my marriage. I don't. It taught me that my worth doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from knowing when to choose myself. Nathan read it twice. Then he closed his phone and went back to his dinner. To his life. To the person he was slowly becoming. Sophia had chosen herself. And finally, so had he. If this story moved you, if you believe in second chances and choosing yourself, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about people who refuse to stay broken. And drop a comment telling me what you learned from Sophia's journey. Should she have forgiven Nathan? Would you have done the same? Your thoughts matter, and I read every single comment. Thanks for being here. And remember, you're never too broken to start again.